Welcome to the ENGS Propel System training videos. Today we will be going through how to submit a credit application. You will start by logging into the Propel system, and from the button bar you will click on the Submit Credit App button. That will launch your credit application. Looking at the credit application, you'll see there are multiple windows open. You have your business information, and then you have additional windows to the side which we will go into individually: the guarantor, equipment, and references. Let's start with the business information section. Launching into the business information section, you'll see there are required fields that have a red asterisk, and then there are additional fields which are optional for entry. Please note that all the fields with the red asterisk must be entered for the application to successfully process. Your first field you'll enter is your company type. Based on what you pick from this drop-down, you'll see that your business information will change appropriately. As an example, if I'm entering a corporation, you will see the corporate fields appear. If I were to change to a sole proprietor or an owner-operator, you'll see just those appropriate fields appear. Today we'll be entering in a corporation. So I've entered in the business information. You'll see we chose a company type of corporation. We've populated the state of incorporation. The name of my company. If we had a DBA, we could capture that here. The tax ID number. If you have more than one location of your dealership, from your dealer city dropdown, you can pick your appropriate dealer location. My principal's full first and last name, their title picked from a drop-down, phone number, cell number, email, the percent of ownership if known, their business address, and then some additional fields around years in business, years as equipment owner, the total amount of vehicles that are owned by that company, and then what industry they're in. If I were entering in a return customer, by starting at the federal tax ID field, I can populate that number, tab out of there, and most of the business information will pre-populate based on what's already in the ENGS system. This brings us to the end of the business information system. The next section of my credit application is the loan request. You'll notice this section intentionally is left as optional. The reason for this is if you have a return customer and you have specifics to enter here around the amount requested, the term, the down payment, if that's known from your customer, by all means we want to capture that. If this is a first-time applicant and you simply want to know if they'll qualify for financing, you may not have information to put into this section. With this application, I'll be requesting a 60-month term, and we'll have a down payment of $10,000. And if we had any additional information about a trade-in, we can capture that here in the loan request notes section. This brings us to the end of the loan request section. If we have a guarantor to add to our transaction, we can go to the guarantor section, and by clicking the Add Guarantor button, the appropriate fields will appear on the screen. You'll notice the guarantor can be designated as either a corporate guarantor or a personal guarantor. Today we'll be filling out a personal guarantor. So we've completed entering in our guarantor information. We have the first and last name. We have the guarantor's social security number, phone number, email, their birth date, and their home address. If we had additional guarantors, you can always click the Add Guarantor button, and an additional set of boxes will show up appropriately. You can add multiple guarantors to any credit application. This brings us to the end of the guarantor section. Our next entry on the credit application will be the equipment section. By clicking the Add Equipment button, you'll see the appropriate fields appear for adding an equipment line item to the application. The description is a free-form field that will feed off of our catalog. As I start to type, you will see a list of equipment showing up from the catalog. As you type, you will get a list showing up from the catalog, and you can pick the appropriate item. If you have a need to freeform in the application, you can capture that description freeform. The data will be normalized by our credit team. If you do select this description from the catalog, that'll be the exact description that'll show up on your credit application, your credit approval, as well as your contract documents. The year will default to the current year. However, for used units, there are prior years in the drop-down that you can choose as well. Likewise, there are future years for new equipment releases. You need to capture your equipment cost, quantity, condition as well. We have the cost per unit, in this case quantity of 1 unit. If you had multiple similar units, you can simply put in the appropriate quantity, the condition, whether it's new or used, and then there's also a place to capture the address of the equipment. If the customer has a garaging location or a lot location, we want to capture that here as well. If there were multiple types of equipment you need to add to your credit application, you can simply click the Add Equipment button, and another set of appropriate boxes will appear where you can capture that information. This brings us to the end of the equipment entry section. We are now going to enter references on our credit application. In the reference section, you simply click the Add Reference button, and you'll see there are 2 options. There are work haul references and bank credit references. It is customary to capture a couple references of each. As you enter in the appropriate data, you can simply click the Add References button, and another set of boxes will appear. We're going to start by adding in bank credit references. We have completed our reference entry. We have 1 bank reference entered for Bank of the West with the appropriate information that the customer had. And we have 1 haul work reference entered in for Wide West delivery with that appropriate information as well. If there were additional references, we can definitely add those, and they will append to the application as well. This brings us to the end of the reference section. The next section of our credit application is the Upload Documents section. If you have typically emailed in applications with ancillary documents attached, this is the place where you will either upload your files or you can click and drag them from your computer. Typically, we will receive invoices, MSOs, proof of insurance, copy of driver's license, whatever other documents you may have that should accompany your credit application. They can be uploaded here, and they will travel along with the application directly into underwriting. This brings us to the end of the Upload of Documents section. The last step in submitting a credit application is the authorization for ENGS to pull credit. You'll simply click 1 button agreeing that we have authorization to run credit, and you will click the Submit Application button. Within a couple of minutes, you will see the application submitted with an option to print a PDF of that application. You'll see the screen appear that your application has been submitted. You have the ability to view and print a copy of that application for your own records. Once you return to the Propel dashboard, you'll see that your application has been submitted in the pipeline under the submission status. Within a minute or 2, you should see that application appear here, and you can follow it along as it goes through the underwriting process. You will additionally receive email notification of your application submission. This brings us to the end of our training video on how to submit a credit application.